I get phone calls or emails from customers saying, I'm due for an oil change, but it looks like on my report, I'm due for this and this and this and this. So instead of scheduling it in for just your basic service, they're actually making an appointment for 3 or 4 or 5 services when they're making the appointment, because they've seen this report and they know what's on there. And like Mike says, they don't want to come back 2 or 3 times. They would rather do it all in one visit. We don't really use it a lot. We basically have just the basic settings set up. And honestly, I'm booked 2 weeks out. So I don't need the extra marketing going out because the work is coming in on a regular basis, just with the default settings that George has set up in the past for us. And this is enabled on each of the advisor's computer. It's also enabled on the technician's computers too. So they can literally be working on a vehicle, they can click on the toolbar and they can see all the history. So if the air filter was just replaced last visit, they don't need to inspect the oil filter. If their wiper blades were just replaced last visit, they don't need to necessarily look at them unless they've been damaged. So it saves the technician time as well as the service advisor time, because we're not inspecting things that we don't need to, because the report is right in front of the technician as well as the advisor. So it makes a very good communication tool both ways. One of the things George talked about as far as being up to date and being accurate is very important. One of the things is if you get a brand new customer, you really need to get their history in there. Every Shopware user has the ability to do a VIN decode through Carfax. And if you sign up for that, you automatically get a free subscription to Service History Check. And you can put any vehicle in here. I'm just going to plug one in right now. And it will tell you all the history on that vehicle. So if you've never seen this car before, you now have all their service history. And you can grab the date, the mileage, and put in that an oil change was done. You can put in date, mileage, and put in the wipers were done. And those are all done pretty easily within the interface here. It literally is, if you scroll across the top, you'll see report, you'll see odometer, send a text, print. We get all the way over here, we get add a record. And you pop open a window and you literally pick the service that was done. And down here, it defaults to performed elsewhere, because why else would you be trying to put a record in there? And you can put the mileage and the date, and now it's going to track every single one of those services that were done somewhere else. So now your report is even accurate, even though you haven't done the services. And it's amazing how many people call me and say, hey, Steve, I need an oil change, but it looks like I'm due for, in this case, cabin air filter, an air filter, and an alignment. And in most cases, I would tell them, hey, we check the air filter every visit. If it's not dirty, I'm not going to replace it. And they appreciate that. We're going to look at tire wear. If the tires are wearing perfectly, I'm not going to suggest an alignment, but I'll make a note here that you asked for them. So now I've gotten the pre-approval to do them, but I've already told them that if it doesn't need it, I'm not doing it, even though the report says it should be done. You know, air filters get dirty based upon amount of driving, dusty road conditions, things like that. Alignment, we have it set for once a year. Some cars we see 2, 3, 4 years and the tires are wearing perfectly. I'm not going to charge them for alignment they don't need to do, but this is a reminder for them to ask me about doing it. You can see my inspection here is pretty much a clean bill of health with a few minor things that are yellow. And the reason for that is because this customer does pretty much everything that's on the SI report. But we do have a note here. All tires are at 730 seconds and we're recommending a rotation based upon tire wear. A lot of times we've got better tires in the front or better tires in the rear, and we want to rotate it based on that. My technician makes a note, and why are we recommending rotation? So now I add the rotation there and do it. This, believe it or not, when the report was run, it was due for a rotation and balance. And I talked to him at the counter and he said, yeah, if it needs a rotate, go ahead and do it. So I didn't add it to the ticket because I would rather have the inspection come back and then go ahead and do the rotate and balance. And you'll notice here it says approved in person. That's because I originally had a note up here when it came in. Customer said rotate's okay if it needs to be done. So I did just approved it right in the shop, in Shopware, and sent it right back to my technician. I didn't even need to contact them because I knew that I had approval up front to take care of that. But yeah, George is right. The inspection should only be for stuff that you're not tracking. It's got a light bulb that's out, you know, it's got a heater problem, it's got a belt condition, something that's unusual that you're not tracking. because pretty much everything can be aged, whether it be a fluid, a tire rotation, an alignment, spark plugs, timing belt. All of those things have specific intervals. And we've tried Mechanic Advisor, Demand Force, Kukui, Service Intelligence. At one point, we were using Demand Force and George's product at the same time. And this goes way, way back because his texting interface was basically in infancy and it was terrible. And I told George, I can't use your texting interface because it doesn't work. So I've got to rely on another product to do that. And what we found is that over time, Demand Force was really kind of, like you said, sending out reminders that really weren't valid. And we decided we don't want to use both these products anymore. We just got to let George work the bugs out of his texting interface. And we never turned back after we got rid of Demand Force. And that was probably 6 or 7 years ago, maybe more. We've been with Service Intelligence, I think 14 years, 12 years, something like that.